A father spends 40 years building wealth. He works, he saves, and he sacrifices. And by the time he dies, he leaves behind a £600,000 home, £300,000 in investment, £100,000 in cash savings. His total estate is £1 million. Now, this is where the problem is. His family thinks they'll be receiving £1 million. But no, this is a silence in wealth transfer. Because by the time the money is transferred to the next generation, the government steps in. Therefore, today we are not talking about how to build or create or multiply our wealth. We are about to talk about how you can transfer your wealth diligently to the next generation. Let's talk about inheritance tax. And as we dive deeply, please keep in mind the previous story I had introduced to you. And so we stick with the same family. Now, the current estate is still 1 million. But before you panic, I need you to know that in the United Kingdom, not every inheritance is taxable. We all have an allowance. And so currently, everyone has a £325,000 tax-free of inheritance that can be transferred to the next generation. You also have £175,000 residence allowance that is also subject to its qualifying measure. A particular property should qualify to be able to obtain this tax-free transfer. And so altogether, we have a total of a potential £500,000 property or estate that can be passed to the next generation tax-free. So therefore, if I'm a single parent, then £500,000 of my estate and let me qualify this, and a qualifying £175,000 residence allowance can be passed to the next generation tax-free. So that means, keeping the previous story in mind, we can pass on, if you are married, that is 500,000 and a 500,000, £1 million can be passed on to the next generation tax-free. And so the previous story I introduced to you, they can actually pass that worth of estate to their next generation without it being taxed. That is 500,000 per one and 500,000 per one altogether. Now, let me digress a little bit. Recently, in some part of Africa, I haven't had opportunity to read the court docket. So everything I'm going to digress with is an alleged statement that I am making. But just because I've introduced this topic, so I'm bringing that in just to qualify what I'm trying to say. So there's a marital case that is in court. And according to what I'm hearing online, the law court ruled that, yes, yeah, you got married, a man and a woman came together and they got married, but then marriage is not an investment. And so, yes, though you got married, someone told to get whatever they got. And so you, the woman, you still have the opportunity to go and work for yourself because marriage is not an investment. But by what I am telling you, then I bet to differ on this side because there is an investment here. If the woman was single, the woman only qualifies to transfer £500,000 out to the next generation tax-free. But you see, marriage became an investment. So because it is an investment, two people come together and with a wealth of £1 million, they can transfer that tax-free to the next generation. So in this context, I would debunk that fact and state that marriage is an investment. So it depends the lens you are using to interpret and receive this message. Now, that was me digressing. Let's move back to where we were. So in our first example, this family may not face any inheritance tax at all. But now let's change the figures a little bit. So let's say the home that the man is living behind is now worth £800,000. And there is an investment of £500,000. There is a cash saving of £200,000. So altogether, the entire estate is now £1.5 million. Remember, they already qualified, the family already qualified for the first £1 million. That is not being taxed on. But then you realize we now have a £500,000 that is exposed. And that £500,000 will attract inheritance tax. And currently, as I speak to you, inheritance tax is 40%. And so 500,000 by 40 will give us £200,000. £200,000 is enough deposit. See, there are some areas in the United Kingdom that I can place a £200,000 on a full property, not a deposit. I'm purchasing it outright. So £200,000 is enough to purchase a property. It is enough to pay entire university tuition for 3 kids. Yeah, depending on what they are studying. It is enough to set the kids up for a huge success in future. But that £200,000 is going out as tax. And so you see, it is dependent on how hard we work, how much we are leaving behind. Once again, do not be scared, because as always on Yacht Finance, when I expose the problem, I bring the remedies. Now, this is one of the things we can do to quench these fires. While we are alive, let's do a little bit of an assessment. We know how much we have. We know the properties we possess. We know what we control on the investment side. We know how much we have in cash. Let's list all of these on paper. £1 million may qualify for tax-free. So that, we take it out. The £500,000. Number 1, gifting. Some gift falls outside your estate. And so whilst we are alive, we can gift a part of our assets to our generation, the next generation. And this will not attract tax. Number 2 is estate planning. Whilst we are alive, one more time, we plan our estate, not when we are gone. I will reiterate again. When we are gone, that is it. It's gone, gone, gone. All right. So whilst we have the opportunity to do it, we do it whilst the sun shines on us. Number 3 is trust. Some families use trust as part of a wider estate strategy. Now, let me emphasize, as part of a wider estate strategy. So it is not the entire strategy, all right? I'll be coming out with a video on trust, how to form a trust, how to register under trust, how to do, and then the nitty-gritty when it comes to tax, the advantages and the disadvantages with trust. So please, a part of the wealth strategy and not the entirety of it. Let's talk about income tax. So let's assume your boss walks into your office and gives you the good news. Congratulations, you have received a £10,000 pay rise. Well, that is fantastic anyway. But the question is, £10,000 pay rise does not mean £10,000 will be hitting your account. Because before anything hits your account, Big Daddy will be coming for a part of it. And so £10,000, it sounds good. There is a pay rise, but then a high earner is moved into a high bracket when it comes to tax abbreviations. And once again, that is where the problem is. And so yes, on paper, we are earning more, but what actually lands in our bank account is questionable. Higher rate taxpayer could lose a significant portion of that increase to tax before they ever see it. Then there is another issue. You cross 100,000 income and your personal allowance will start disappearing. By the time you cross 125,140, it can disappear completely. Now, this is why some people get promoted and they still feel financially stuck. But once again, I expose a problem. Here is a solution. I need you to understand tax band. Understand pension, understand salary sacrifice. If you are able to understand these 3 things, then sometimes you realize we need structure and not actually a pay rise. A pay rise is good. Yes, we need it. But when you fall into certain bracket, you need to ensure that strategically you are positioned. If you do not find yourself in these jurisdiction I've actually exposed to you as a bit of solution, then you'll be finding yourself wanting. Yes, the person, oh, he or she earns £100,000, £50,000, £60,000, but yet look, we are still you will be struggling. Let's talk about capital gain tax. So you invested £20,000 And 10 years after your investment portfolio is now worth £120,000. And so we have a good £100,000 that is an excess out of our investment. And so we are excited. And now we decide to sell the investment. Now, this is where the conversation changes. First £3,000 of gains is currently exempted. So that leaves us 97,000 potentially taxable. And then at a 24% capital gains tax rate. So 97,000 by 24%, that gives us 23,280. The investment performed brilliantly. But £23,000 will be gone because of the structure that we choose. And so let's say the same investment, but in a different structure. We invested into our stocks and shares ISA. And so you see, the wrapper actually matters, but the structure is different. And so before, you invested in your investment account. But now I'm introducing to you the stocks and shares ISA, where you build your investment in. Different structures. But with the stocks and shares ISA, that 23,000 is kept with us. It is our money. It is tax-free. Now, let's talk about dividend tax. So your portfolio starts paying you. And remember, it's paying you not because you work hard. All right. It's not because you worked overtime, but it's paying you because you invested in assets. And so say you've received £10,000 in dividend. And to me, that is some cool money you have over there, right? If I receive £10,000, there's a lot I'll do to compound that £10,000. Okay, so this is what you've received in dividend. But let's flip and let me show you some mathematics. So you receive £10,000 in dividends. If you are a higher rate taxpayer, then your dividend tax is 35.75. That is what you could face. So we have £10,000 by 35.75%. And that gives us £3,575. So suddenly, that £10,000 doesn't look quite the same. Getting paid by your asset is powerful, but this is why I love the ISAs. So invest in your ISAs. Dividend you receive in your ISAs. Tax-free system structure. That is what I'm talking about. Finally, let's talk about stamp duty. So you have saved 50,000, and to save 50,000, that is years of sacrifice. That is years of discipline. That is years of consistency. That is years of determination. That is how come we got that £50,000. And so if you are going through this cycle or you are already there, congratulations to you. Not many people get that far. And so please, in all humbleness, I appreciate you. Now we found a property, and the property is worth £400,000. We are excited. We know this is a dream home, and maybe it's even a new property, for want of a better word, okay? So we are excited about this property, but then it's £400,000. And as you were going through the process, someone asked you, have you calculated the cost of the stamp duty? And you're like, no. Well, okay, I'm here to tell you. A property worth £400,000, you could be paying, a good £10,000 on stamp duty. Yes, on stamp duty. And so you realize we saved for £50,000, but 10,000 out of the 50 is not going towards the deposit of the property. It is going for stamp duty. Now, someone said, did you go for solicitors? Okay, so we save 50,000. Now we need to minus some good amount of money for solicitors, all right? And all the many other charges that may come with a property. And so saving is good enough for the property, but let's think about the extras. A chunk of money would disappear even before you move into that dream home. And I promise you, if it's a second property, the bill goes high. So please, going on the property ladder is one of the best advice I could give you. Yet I will encourage you to get on it if you can. But don't just save for the deposit. Consider all the other extras before you even think about the price you want to go for or the area you want to reside in. Consider all the many other things. Speak to your broker. Speak to a financial advisor who can help you on this journey. Let's go back to our father who had £1 million in their estate, and also to our sister who invested £20,000 and gained £100,000 excess in that investment. Also, our brother who earned that £10,000 in pay increment, and our cousin over there who also received that dividend, extra £10,000 in dividend. And you out there who is currently investing, you didn't make a bad decision. that decision was worth making. You went on the right tangent. But you see, unfortunately, tax entered into the conversation, and so it changed. But here is where the wealthy play the wild card system, because the wealthiest families don't just make money, they focus on keeping it, they focus on protecting it, they focus on passing it on with the right mechanism. Please do me the honor and watch this video where I go in depth into pensions and what you could be receiving and what you may not be receiving. Building wealth is one, protecting it is another, keeping it is what we really want to bridge and gravitate towards too. If this video helped you, please do me the honor, follow this page, subscribe to this platform. This is Yard Finance. I can't wait to see you at the top. Wealth building is a long-term trajectory. Please stick to the cause. Be disciplined, diligent with it. Do you understand the tax system you're facing right now? Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next.